What I'm thinking of doing is getting like a separate camera in this room and putting a puppet of Nick so it looks like he's showing up to any of these.
Welcome to
CryptTeaze Family Fun Night.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Chase Will.
I'm Lucas Liner.
I'm Robin Luddite.
I'm Sean Wheeler.
And I'm Jessica Sweet.
And welcome to CryptTeaze Family Fun Night.
Woo!
Tonight, we are talking about the godfather of all great horror movies, the one you've all definitely seen. If you haven't, you're not our friend. Halloween.
You
John
can't sit with
Carpenter's
us.
Halloween.
No.
No, on Wednesdays we wear pink. Every other day we watch Halloween.
Yes. That's exactly how it goes.
We invited Jessica
Wednesdays
Sweet.
we
Not
wear
only
black.
is she a horror model on Instagram with a pretty big following, but she's also the most diehard fan of this movie and probably franchise that I know of. Jess, you picked this movie. Tell us a bit about it.
So, John Carpenter's Halloween, it is a classic 1978 film. And it basically, the original storyline of it was there's this guy whose name is Michael Myers. He just really enjoys killing babysitters. Really. That's all there is to it. Yeah, and that's it.
Is this anybody's first time seeing this here?
Fucking hope not.
If so, you're
Oh.
fired.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, where does this first movie rank in the franchise for you? Is it number one, or are you wrong?
I'm kind of torn between. I really like the 2018 installment. I like that just as much as I like the first Halloween, but nothing beats the first film.
Let's
You know?
get to that in a little bit because I have some serious thoughts on the 2018 installment that are kind of the opposite.
I'm aware of those. If you've seen our dumpster fire episode, you know.
Oh,
Well,
no,
you
you
know,
don't. We had to edit it out.
Here's
Oh,
a good
fuck!
no, hold on. Here's a good question for everyone here. What is the first Halloween movie you saw in theaters?
Never in theaters.
I
First
saw
Halloween.
Resurrection in theaters. No, I didn't see Resurrection in theaters. I saw Rob Zombie's Halloween in theaters.
I lied. I saw the new one in theaters.
In theaters would be 2018. It was an after-hours event when I worked at a haunted house. So I was like,
Mine in theaters was H2O.
Really? That was one of the better
Yep.
ones, too. I love that one.
I
Fucking
did like
old
that one a
Wheeler.
lot.
Yeah. Hey, I am, but you know what? It
Probably
has
cool
its
as shit.
advantages.
just making
Yeah,
statements, observations.
Hey,
nothing more.
I was 14, I was 14 heading into my freshman year of high school, taken by a group of seniors to go see a horror movie. What a great time.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, I thought we got a badass over here.
Possibly
Hang with
It's not a
Fucking
badass. Hey,
Sean
it
Wheeler.
switched over. You know, unlike the 70s, I wasn't getting paddled. I was getting taken to horror films. Vast improvement.
Then you went to college and got paddled again for whole different reasons.
I'm not a frat boy, buddy. But clearly you were.
No, I wasn't. I was a theater nerd.
I mean, okay, so you're getting paddled for completely different reasons.
If it's in the script, you do it.
If it's in the
As
script,
said by every actor in Halloween Resurrection.
if it's in the script, that's a paddling.
Oh, God.
All right, one thing I found out this time around that I didn't know previously, because I just happened to go on the internet and look some stuff up, is Michael Myers was played by 6 different people in this, not just Nick Castle. Did
Mhm.
anybody else know that? Because I didn't.
Not 6 different people, but I felt like I knew that there was multiple people.
Yeah.
Well, some
I
of the
knew
people
that
who got
there
credited
were-
were just like hand shots of like the kid reaching for something or somebody else reaching for something or a
We need
stunt
this
man.
guy's hand.
We need to insert
He
That's
just
honestly
does it
probably what
right.
it
I was a hand model back in the 70s. you should say.
This hand is your hand. This hand is my hand. Wait, this is your hand.
Fucking Wheeler's face right now is shit.
All right. We'll get a little serious. It was released in the late 70s,
Will we?
1978. Has very little gore in the movie for as scary as it is. And most of the scares come from good pacing and just brilliant filmography, like cinematography. I said filmography. We're going to edit that out.
Oh
Take
no,
care.
we'll keep that in.
Are we?
Oh, we definitely are.
Interesting that you say that. While I like the cinematography here, a lot of the cinematographical choices that they make only work because of how amazing the score is.
Mhm.
If they don't have those audio cues going on, some of those shots are straight up perplexing. You don't hold as long as you do in a lot of the frames, just with people walking away or things going on without that audio design. which is brilliant. And also, this is the first time I've watched it in a long time, remastered audio, watching it, you know, with a better audio system. Man, did they crib from Star Wars. All those breathing techniques. But like it works, Like that is part of the genius of it. It's like you have this in-killer angle point of view and you hear him breathing. And that just makes that moment feel more real and intense than otherwise.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough this past Halloween, I got to see it on Halloween night in theaters because of COVID. They actually do like old movies in the big screen. And it was a room full of younger kids. And I was like, oh boy, they're going to watch this movie. They're going to be scared shitless. They think they know horror movies. And they were all bored. Like I was seriously about to go on a Myers-style killing spree. I was really upset.
Well, fuck them.
No, they were like making comments like, this movie sucks. Like, you suck.
Well, right. But it's because, I mean, the brilliance of this movie is that, as you said, it's the pacing. They really build up the kills so you don't know when it's going to come. I mean, they spend, 15 minutes building up like the first babysitter kill, really? Yeah. Maybe even 20. They spent a long time on that. Now, that is a brilliant suspense building techniques, literally cribbed from Jaws. Like they weren't showing the shark and they kept building the suspense. Like, yeah, and that's what great creators do, is that they see what somebody else does, they take the technique, they make it better and mold it to their own. And Carpenter really did that with this film. Unfortunately, because of modern technology and other things, I'm not making judgments on this. Attention spans are simply shorter. They are.
Oh yeah.
And so
that's why we're dividing these episodes into 20-minute segments.
Asking people who have never encountered a movie like this, who didn't grow up on this stuff, whose only awareness of entertainment is stuff designed for that shorter attention span, this movie's going to be like, I don't understand what the intention here was. Like they are expecting literally systematic action beats based on psychological research for what keeps an attention span versus, you know, what literally can work if you know how the human mind and body progresses. This is literally a matter of data analysis ruining good art.
Jess, what do you think of that?
I honestly really do agree with that. For example, when the new not Halloween, when the new Alien came out, and Ridley Scott was directing that, he spent so much money on CGI and spent so much money just making sure that the set was good that it ruined the entire film. You know, there were moments where you could tell that he was trying to like build up the suspense and keep building it for that one jump scene. But because of how much he ruined with modern technology, it completely destroyed it. You were able to predict when the jump scare was going to be there. And that it's something that really, really pisses me off about films, because that it had so much potential, but it was just ruined. Especially considering the fact that he blew so much of his money that he could only afford James Franco for like 2 months.
He didn't have Franco money. He had Danny McBride money.
He did not. But I completely agree with Sean.
Now, do you guys think this would actually work? Because I'm picturing any day now, they're going to take this, they're going to adapt it into an MTV serial, like almost like they did with Scream. They're going to make this like a mini series or a series. Would that work, or would that be a cost for a riot?
It just wouldn't be the same.
I'll grab my pitchfork now. Fuck it.
You know, honestly, I'm gonna go a different route on this. It could work depending on how they do it, and let me explain why. There is a genius to this movie that I don't think is appreciated till you look at it through modern eyes, that I don't even think was intentional. While he is obviously made of a supernatural nature, he keeps getting up after he's killed. His methodology is very much that of a serial killer. He has a fantasy in his head he keeps trying to recreate. And that's, you know, how he slaughtered his sister. This thing about like a babysitter, like that is his target. That is what he's after. This movie came out long before those kind of analyses were being published, were being accepted. But luckily, it just kind of fits. So when you look at it from that angle, and I think that's one of the reasons this has really endured, is unintentionally, it actually ends up lining up with where psychology went. So if you went with it that route, rather, if you're doing a serial like that and you have it like this kind of pseudo supernatural serial killer constantly recreating his death fantasy, I think if you adjusted it that route, it could actually play really well in a more serialized format.
Yeah. I hope if they ever do a TV show, they got to work in that cult of the Thorn or whatever and actually explain it this time in a way that fits, because they tried twice and it never worked.
To be fair,
No.
I'm saying
First-
there's a possibility for it to work. I'm not saying I want it. There's a difference.
Big difference. Yeah.
Jesse, you were
I
saying?
do know the Curse of the Thorn is an astrological sign. It's like some sort of like star constellation. I don't know if they were wanting to have that tie into it and try explain it in that way. Maybe that's why it didn't make any sense. But after doing a little bit of research on it, it's supposedly linked with Satan.
Okay.
Part 6,
And that's all I
that
know.
like constellation.
Yeah. Was that the Curse of Michael Myers, or was that?
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
they
the Curse of
started to
Michael
introduce
Myers.
it in 5, and then 6 is when they leaned into it a little more.
Yeah.
I kind of skipped around. 6 is one of the random ones I've seen.
6 though has Paul Rudd. That's a good reason to watch it. He plays older Tommy Doyle, which is much more bearable than young Tommy Doyle, who is my least favorite part of this movie. I fucking hate that kid. I really do.
And Halloween 6, can we just talk about that giant murder scene that Michael did in the hospital? Can we just
In
talk
which
about how in Halloween 6?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about how brutal that was? That's one of my favorite moments in Halloween history. It's so beautiful. It's so gory and oof. It's perfectly done.
Now, for anybody watching who can't tell, Jess is a huge fan of Halloween. Jess, show them their background a little bit.
No.
So I have over here, that is a Michael Myers poster signed by Nick Castle. And I have a Halloween 2 lunchbox. I have a Michael plushie up here. I have 3 Michael action figures.
Oh my god.
And I have the new Halloween film score on vinyl going back here. And I got a bunch of others. Like
You ain't fucking around. Wow.
I thought we were collectors.
I love.
Right.
So-
Shit.
And on my window over here, I have a Michael Myers window sticker thingy, whatever the proper term for that is.
Decal.
Decal. Thank you.
Something to scare people walking by.
We were gonna get there.
Yes. Sometimes
But-
it scares me when I'm walking home.
Do you have the action figure of the guy who used his hand in one scene, or an autograph? They're celebrities too. They go to conventions.
They do. They do. They really do.
Their hands famous.
Like, see this hand? $20 million.
Got their hand insured for like $2 million.
As awkward though of some of the moments are with that opening sequence, the first person point of view really plays well there.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I have a question too. You guys might be into in the classroom scene where Laurie is sitting and seeing him outside for the first time. The teacher is talking about fate while that's happening. How does fate play into the story of Michael and Laurie?
They're destined to do this
Well,
forever.
I think they really got into that in 6 too, when they found the star. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think that they kind of go into that, how they were tied. Am I wrong?
I don't remember, honestly.
Because it
I haven't
kind of
I haven't
talks
rewatched
about
many of the later
Michael's
installments.
destiny and his purpose, kind of thing, was part of what the thing is with that astrological sign or constellation or something.
Well,
Go ahead.
there's also Halloween 3 as well, if we want to count that as
I do.
Michael Myers.
I do. That's fucking great.
I would.
It's
I would
outside the
think
Michael
I
Myers
would.
universe though, because in that movie they're watching
Yes,
Halloween
it's-
1.
And it talks about the mask, and supposedly the mask is what gives him his power.
Hmm.
That was what I heard. Well, that was what the director said, at least, about the film, how the mask was from
I mean
that. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It just makes sense with they came back to that in Halloween 2018 because it's really when he grabs the mask out of the trunk of the podcaster's car where things really pick up.
Mhm.
I also
say
want
that too.
I've always kind of taken the point there, though. I think they're, particularly when you look at the the inception here, this first movie, with the fact that he is wearing, you know, a clown mask at the start. I think it's less about what mask he's wearing and more the fact that he's wearing a mask. Like, him putting on that mask gives him the power and the disassociation to be the pure embodiment of evil and fulfill his desires that he, you know, might be psychologically less willing to do if he has to have his own face to the world.
He was like the first member of
identity
Anonymous.
his alter ego.
He was the first Anonymous member. Sorry, I broke.
I will also point out now, my gosh,
Oh shit!
we've had how many movies and we've never been able to get the face of that mask actually into one of these? What a fail. Come on. I want
we did talk
Shatner in a
about-
Halloween.
I would like to point out, pulling back the curtain here on the topic of William Shatner, that he was just announced today. We're recording this on March 30th. He was just announced as he's going to be inducted into the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, come on.
Of course
Look, the perfect absence in the franchise existed. Come on. Donald Pleasance died. We could have had Shatner for a Loomis, if only to die in 5 minutes. It
Oh,
would work.
fuck!
Oh my God, you have stabbed me. I am dying. I would love it, just even as a deleted scene.
Death has come
That would be
to
perfect.
your little town, Sheriff.
Just chew the hell out of the scenery. He'll do it.
Hey, you know
Oh,
what? You know what? He's friends with Rollins, Henry Rollins. So it's like, hell, you got another like icon from the horror industry. Throw him in there for another cameo. People will love it. It'll work.
If you get Henry Rollins to play Michael Myers, he has to go, "'Cause I'm a killer."
No. You haven't played a cop or
Fucking
something who
nerd.
gets killed, but in like a really epic way.
Like, you know what I want more of in this movie is that one scene where he's going to the graveyard and the caretaker is droning on with a story. I want a spin-off just of that guy telling stories. Because he never finished the story. I was left in
That
Could
suspense.
have been.
Well,
I want to know
Dude.
what happens.
But that graveyard scene to me is so awkward. I'm just like,
But why
she
did
was not a baby. How is that grave that
Oh,
small? Like, whoa. And you know what? That's kind of why I came back to the score at the beginning when you were talking about the directing. There are some serious incongruencies in this movie that are blaringly obvious. And thank God that score is amazing and hits so hard and so well at the right moments that those incongruencies don't matter. And I mean, case in point, he's following them in a car and it goes from daytime to nighttime in a single cut. Like, that doesn't play.
That's how planets work, Sean.
They're walking home. Suddenly it cuts and she's at her house, but it has rained between those sections and she's bone dry.
Hey,
Like,
Wheeler,
wait a minute. What's up?
What's that just said about hard data ruining good art?
Well, no, right. But that's what I'm saying is that there's definitely some faux pas in the directing, incongruencies, but they don't matter because it's playing so well. But that's kind of my point, is that if you don't have the great acting, in the characters of Loomis and the character of Laurie, if you don't have that great score, and if you don't have, the really good parts of the directing, this doesn't work. It's all three of those coming together that makes this play. Take away any one of those, you've got just another 70s B horror film.
Yeah.
Especially
This
if
is
Lori's
magic.
And part of that too is the script and how it was written. It sounds like it is an actual conversation between 3 people, between 4 people, between a group, however many it may be, that came out in the 70s. It just sounds like a normal conversation. I think part of that really helped sell the film.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know what it is. Rewatching this movie, there is something special about 70s movies that you just know they're from the 70s. And I don't know what it is about that time frame, because I can watch movies from the 50s and 60s and I can't always tell the decade they're from. But like, I almost never fail. I see a movie from the 70s, there's something about the dialogue that's just like, oh, cool, I know where this is.
Yeah.
Speaking of dialogue, there was one line in particular. I'm to see if you guys can guess it, where I was like, "What the fuck did he just say?" I'll give you a hint. It's in the third act. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I had a moment like that. It might be the same. I just can't remember.
It's where he's like, "Then we go inside. You rip my clothes off. I rip your clothes off, and then we rip Lindsay's clothes off." I'm like, did he really just say that, and nobody decided to cut that line?
Hey man, you gotta have high hopes.
The 70s.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the 70s, it's okay to rip off a kid's clothes. What the fuck?
Wait, hold on. I thought he was talking about the other babysitter.
Lindsay was the kid.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, that's a whole different. Oh wow!
Yeah, no, I totally caught that too, and I was just like, yeah.
It's fucking gross. Okay, going back around, Jess, what was your experience seeing this movie for the first time? How old were you when you saw it?
Actually, I was about 13 when I first saw Halloween. Because the first film that I ever watched was The Exorcist when I was 5, and that was what really got me into it. But I was terrified of Michael for years and years and years. Terrified of Michael, love The Exorcist, because that absolutely makes sense. But once I saw it, I saw how brilliant of a film that it was. Because like at that point, I was able to understand films a little bit more, and especially growing up with my parents who were also horror movie buffs as well. They like try to explain everything and help me point out of like what film has good qualities, what film doesn't. It's kind of a weird tactic that we have. But I remember immediately when I saw the opening scene, just being completely mesmerized by it, because I loved the fact that they put you in like this 3D type world where you're watching this film and you feel like you have the mask on. There was something super magical about that I loved, and it made me want to keep watching it. It was so creative. I had never seen anything like it. And then the more that I watched it, the more I would pick up on these little hidden Easter eggs that are in it, these little like hidden quotes, little like mistakes in the film. And just that alone is what got me into horror and got me into wanting to be a collector and analyze films and talk about films, because those little things, they go so unnoticed and they really make the film like 10 times better. For example, in the first Halloween, when they show Michael standing behind the elongated bush, when Laurie and Annie go over to that end of the bush, you see a puff of smoke come into frame. It's either in the top right or the top left, but that smoke is from John Carpenter's cigarettes. That just goes into frame. It's little things like that that make it so wonderful and make it so not even just theatrical, but
like raw,
intense. Yeah, it makes it even more raw, because that's not edited out. They kept it in, and it's so wonderful.
You know, and I completely agree with you, particularly the use that they do in this movie with background. There's a lot of times, particularly, you know, with the car early on, you know, they have a lot of movement going on in the background that is important to the story, but then there's subsequent scenes where there's stuff going on in the background that is not necessarily or has nothing to do with the story, but now you're focusing on it because they've done that, and it really gets you to look at the entire frame. And but in doing so, it adds a whole layer of rewatchability, because you're never quite sure what you're supposed to be paying attention to because of those fun little details. And that really makes it fun, because you're always like, oh, what's going on here? Is that important? Is this not important? It's you know, it's almost like a you know, like a find the hidden picture at times, and that makes it, you know, just absolutely a blast.
It's like this film was the original hidden object game or something.
Yeah.
It was Where's Michael?
Where's the shape? He is credited as the shape.
I like a lot of the stuff too.
Like that.
Speaking of the background, I also like the music choices too. Like when they're in the car and Don't Fear the Reaper is playing. And I was kind of wondering, like this time around, I was trying to analyze it. Like, was that a choice that they made to have that song in particular, or was that just a song that happened to be there? Somebody chose it. They said, "We need a song."
Films involve rights. That is an intentional choice.
Yep.
It worked well too.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure they had like a very, very small budget. I don't remember what it was.
300,000, I think.
I think so.
I think that's the only real named song going on in the film besides the score. And what a perfect song. Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget about that, which you shouldn't, but yeah. Well, it's in so much that it doesn't quite hit, but it's like, man, hearing Don't Fear the Reaper in a horror film is just like, ah. And, you know, welcome to this movie sets up so many tropes that later down the line you come to accept. I mean, you have the first serialized, this is the start of the first serialized slasher. He's wearing coveralls. This is, you know, if not the first, one of the first of I'll be right back. Like, a lot of tropes get started right here.
Yeah.
The boogeyman thing, obviously.
I'm iffy about that. I see where you get that from in some aspects, but a thing that's always bugged me, and this is all due respect to the film, is that Halloween gets tagged as the first, like, slasher. And I have two films that I would like to submit as the real first.
Black Christmas came first, didn't it?
Black Christmas, I would also say a few months before that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Okay, but
they're both from 74, so I mean, right. It's like...
But in my mind, again, I said serialized slasher. And yes, Texas Chainsaw had, you know, some subsequent ones, but I don't think there's such a
an anthology kind of.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much a cult of Leatherface as you started with, like, that you have like a cult of Michael Myers or a cult of Jason or a cult of Freddy. Yeah. So when it comes to like this really serialized cultish slashers, that's where I see this being the first. I would never have said this was the first slasher. That came before, but like many things, you can have elements and certain things happen beforehand, and when all those finally come together into something perfect, that's what spawns and sparks off the new genre, even though there might have been predecessors.
Right. My argument with Halloween is more, I don't necessarily subscribe to the belief that this film invented the wheel. I would argue it perfected it or got within a hair of it.
There were some parts where if you look and you're objective about it, I was telling you before we started recording, where he's the scene where he stabs the guy and nails him to the wall and he's hanging there and he's looking at him. The very iconic scene. I love that scene so much. Oh, yeah. It's gorgeous looking. However, that knife was way too small to go through that guy only part way and into the wall enough to bear his weight. It could not have happened. And I caught that right away. It took me right out of it. Well, I was like, it looks great. I love that scene
too, but it also made me think, well, maybe that's why he's looking like, wow, I actually did that.
Like, holy shit. I don't know my own strength.
The head tilt.
The head tilt.
He's like, did I just fucking do that?
But that's kind of it. It's like, you know, we were talking, this movie is very low budget. And I even mentioned it, you know, it was cribbing things from Jaws, from Star Wars. But that's the brilliance of it, is that Carpenter had the eye and the ear with the score to take these influences from all these places and put them together to create something beautiful. Yeah, there's going to be goofs. Look at any movie made for $300 million, $300,000, and tell me, tell me
we're not talking about the Snyder cut here.
No, tell me you don't have goofs all over the place. My gosh, like I love some
Game of Thrones, movies, anyone?
But you're gonna have them goofs. However, a lot of the goofs in this movie are kind of endearing or almost even funny, but don't necessarily take away. Like, oh man, someone's throat just got slit and there's no blood. But you know what? Like, that person's still selling it that their throat slit even though there's no blood. I'll roll with it. It's all right.
Yeah.
Like, it's that dedication. Like, had that scene not been shot that way, or the actress broken character, would have been awful. But you know what? You can forgive that because everything else works.